Hey, John Prevost here for WhistleBiz.com. Thanks again for tuning in. Today is installment 8 of our pod series, Passion, Ownership, and Dedication series. This past week we've been discussing how do we work with our employees to create an emotional bond with the projects that they're working on. Earlier this week we talked about vision statements and the what and the why. We talked about user profiles, the who, and we talked about user environments, or the where. Today we're talking about the how. How do we get requirements into the hands of the folks that are executing the projects, and why do we do it in a certain way? So traditionally, we've talked about this a couple times this week. We've talked about specs or requirements and basically how we don't want to just drop a big requirement list on somebody's desk because it doesn't present a customer-facing aspect to it. It doesn't do anything to lend an emotional connection from the person doing the work to the person's problem who's being solved. So we don't want that. So what do we want? Well, we want goal-oriented requirements. We want to know what the need is and the results. So whenever we're working with requirements, we should be able to say, as a customer, I want to do this, so I have this result. I want to be able to get my payments quicker, so it expedites my day. I need to be able to do this to make things better. And so you always have a cause or a desire of the customer within the spec, and you always have a result that's being fulfilled. That is the fulfillment of that desire. So what does this do? Well, what it does is it brings, again, the person who's actually executing the work closer to the customer. They can actually see the needs of the customer. And it does that, so it connects that emotional tie that we've been talking about. It drives the individual deeper into the project and increases that investment in the project. It also brings the expert, whoever that person is, like, why would the marketing strategist or the account manager think that they would know more about email campaign than the actual person who does email campaigns? Or why would a business analyst think he knows more about the technology that we do than the actual engineer who does the work? So it does two things. One thing, it increases the investment of the individual doing the project, and secondly, it does that. It brings the experts to make the decisions about how the technology can best fit the needs or the customer desires. So that's the how. So this week we've talked about, again, the what, the why, the who, the where, and now the how. And if you're noticing, then there's one thing that we're missing, and that's the when. And we'll cover that next week, going into next week. But talking more about the how. So what does that look like? Well, I mean, a quick way, obviously, would be how are projects presented to the folks that are executing them. That's a quick way in your organization you can see that. But also another one, maybe a more revealing one, is if you're an independent contributor, how do you receive your work? How are you told to do what to do on specific projects or products? What does that look like? If it's actions, or make sure you put a button there, or make sure you have a campaign over there, or make sure you have things that look like that, you know, that's basically spec driven or requirement driven or task driven work. What we want is to be able to say, these are the desires, these are the needs, and this is how it needs to be executed. Again, it's creating more innovation to increase the investment of the person who's doing the work inside the project itself. So that's it for today. I hope you have a great weekend, and let me know what your thoughts about today's post. Thanks again. Bye.